Welcome to the Carolina Weather Group for this Wednesday, October 15th, 2025. Take a look at this video. You know it well. We've been talking about it for weeks here on the Carolina Weather Group, and we're going to talk about it again because this story is not going anywhere fast. If you live out in the Outer Banks or you know anybody that does, the washout of NC-12, the homes falling into the ocean, just the relentless lashing from coastal storms that our friends on the Outer Banks have been taking. Well, we've got another chapter in the saga for you, and we're going to tell it to you coming up this week on the Carolina Weather Group. All right, you'll be seeing some more of that video as we roll on through this week's show. I'm James Brierton in Charlotte on our Carolina Weather Group panel. We got Frank Strait in Columbia, and Sam Walker, who's normally out there on the Outer Banks, is on the road in Massachusetts tonight. You can tell because his normal Disney apparel is not behind him.
Yeah, I didn't bring that on the road this time.
And joining us, we got Chris Jackson and Brett Adair, Storm Chasers, friends of the show. They're back. This week, they're representing hascams.com, their new initiative, and they're going to be telling us all about the awesome things they got to see and do with hascams out there on the Outer Banks. And Chris shared some video, and Brett's got some stuff too. Just, we titled this show, guys, Trapped on Hatteras, and we were just joking. You were trapped on Hatteras during that nor'easter that came by, but voluntarily trapped, if we're being transparent, right?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, James. We went out for an opportunity. We knew the coastal storm was going to develop and evolve and move up the coastline, and we ended up moving, out on Hatteras Island because it didn't look like it was going to be too bad in terms of the wind. Weaker than what we would see from a hurricane, which Chris, we got what, 60, 70 mile an hour gusts over that Saturday?
Yeah, at least. I know last time I looked, they were gusting down close to Diamond Shoals at close to 60, 62, something like that.
I mean, Sam will obviously tell us that we're kind of short on hurricanes this year, but Sam, you guys have been getting plenty of these non-hurricanes bringing hurricane impacts.
Yeah, we have. And if you really, and we've talked about it so many times now, it feels like over the last 2 months, because it has been really since the first week of August, we have been in a predominant northeast, north blow. We've only had a few days where the winds weren't blowing out of the north or northeast, and it was, where you had a low rip current risk day. That's how it kind of become to gauge it. We've just been stuck in this pattern, and then we got Hurricane Aaron, and then we've gotten a couple of coastal storms that have developed, one right after another, essentially, and then this one did things that hadn't been done in a while. And that's, every time we talk about storms being different, whether they are named or not named, such as this, is, the fact that every time they do something different. And this one did something somewhere, particularly on the northern end of Pea Island, where everybody's been focused on Rodanthe for the last 5 years, Buxton for the last 5 weeks. This time it was what's known as the Canal Zone, right across the Bass Knight Bridge and Oregon Inlet. This time that's where the blowouts were. So everyone has done something different, but they've all been pretty strong. And that's the thing about nor'easters. Non-named systems sometimes do a lot more damage to us than a name.
Chris and Brett, I'm just looking here, and Brett's right. If anybody's watching with us, the video we were playing out, when I ingested it, got very bright. But what you guys have on social right now is a little bit probably truer to what you guys were seeing about it, just how stormy it was out there, of course, right? We know we got some folks watching on your social media who maybe aren't familiar with the Carolina Weather Group as we discuss weekly weather across the Carolinas. So let me ask you, Brett, what did you guys observe out there when you were out there riding out this storm on the Outer Banks?
Well, as Sam mentioned, we saw several areas of blowout, right? We saw some areas where the dunes had been taken down due to the previous lows. This has been like a 2 to 3 week stint of different areas, being hit hard. We went out to Buxton, where one of the blowouts was out near Highway 12, and we saw several of the homes that had already been compromised, several of the collapses, and several that were on the verge of collapse. Now, to our knowledge from this particular storm there, we didn't see any full collapses from this system. But there are so many homes right there that are now in the surf zone, and there's, it's not going to take much. Another nor'easter this year, and you're going to see another 4 or 5 houses in the Atlantic. So, that drone video right there shows you how many houses are in the surf zone and how much debris and concrete. And some of that used to be a paved road. This actually washed up now because, see, there are houses that are in the surf zone. So it's just it's crazy to me. The erosion that has taken place over really, after talking to some of the Dare County officials, the last 10 years, they've just seen such a major amount of erosion. And now they're seeing several houses fall into the Atlantic. And it's not just Buxton. Up near Rodanthe, I know a lot of people were reaching out to me asking about the Black Pearl because it's in the surf zone up there now. And you've got 4 or 5 other homes. So, this is going to be a developing and a continuing problem for any of those homes there along the immediate coast. But think about it, right after that, unless something major is done, this is Barrier Island, you're going to see that surf zone continue to expand further inland. You see how many houses are out there. So, problems, big problems.
It's so interesting that you mentioned that there used to be a road there, because I don't think that fully clicked in my brain until I was talking to Justin Michaels over at the Weather Channel this week. And Chris, before the show, we were laughing that when you sent over a bunch of stuff in Dropbox, you sent over like a bunch of stuff in Dropbox. So I don't know if you meant to send me this screenshot of where you guys were on the Google Maps or not, but I'm going to go ahead and just try to put it on the screen here because it shows where the road used to be. If I can get the screen share to come up, because the road was marked as closed, and of course the road was marked as closed because it doesn't exist anymore. And I thought that was kind of really telling for folks who might be wondering what is going on here. This is the picture, Chris, I was referring to. So you guys can see
where you were standing,
the
road that is
closed
or really non-existent.
Non-existent.
Yep.
And then where the ocean and those houses are. So, I mean, walk us through, Chris. What is this like? Like, is it evident that there used to be a road there, or is that just like a long forgone part of history?
The way it stands right now, you cannot tell there was a road there because I guess the local municipalities' efforts to try to stop the ocean from coming inland even more. They've got piles and piles of sand that basically made a man-made dune there. So there's no, you can kind of tell there used to be a road there, but not so much. You'd have to look at a map and know there was a road there, if that makes any sense.
I think you have to really know where to look.
Well, I can tell you one way that you could find out that there was a road there. There were piles of the asphalt that was remaining that had been washed up past the houses. Chris, you remember we walked past several of those. There was concrete out there from septic systems and all kind of things, but there were also pieces of the old roadway that was striped, that was pushed up. So it was a messy situation. I don't know that I've ever really seen anything like that other than from, a major hurricane with huge storm surge that took out a bunch of homes and, went well inland. This is a different kind of problem.
Absolutely. One of the things that we saw that was weird to me was the septic tank systems are mostly all exposed on most of those houses. And it looks like when those houses were built, they were probably built at grade, with the foundation of the house. But, years and years of erosion there's a great picture on the screen there, has now, made those septic tank systems become exposed.
I know Sam Walker's probably chomping at the bit here to give us the context and the reasons why. So, Sam, I want to know why the septic tanks are exposed. I want to know where the road's gone. But I want to start with the most frequently asked question, and it's one we have addressed here on the show. But with new viewers tuning in, Sam, why did they build these homes in the ocean?
Yeah, that's the question we all get. That's the comments that always pop up on anytime there's a social media post. And the best answer is they weren't built in the ocean. They had about 200 to 300 yards of beach in front of them when they were constructed in the 1970s and the 1980s, with an 8 to 12 foot man-made dune that had been built by hand, dug by hand in the 1920s and the 1930s by, post Great Depression, the WPA and the CCC. Our men were sitting down on the Outer Banks from Sandbridge to basically Cape Fear, to build dunes along the oceanfront. And those dunes held until the last 10 years. And then things have just gone haywire. And we've gotten this blowout situation in Buxton. And there is another piece to this. And the video that's up on the screen right now, just to the top of that video, is an old jetty. An old breakwater, an old terminal groin. Actually, it is a true jetty. There was a pair of jetties built when that land to the top of the screen was a Navy and Coast Guard base, a Cold War era naval intelligence base that monitored for submarines. And those jetties were there, and they did actually do the job of protecting the base and the areas to the north and down to where the lighthouse used to stand in Buxton. Those jetties have been compromised over the last 30 years. They weren't maintained. The one jetty right at where the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse used to be is being planned to be rebuilt next year as part of a beach nourishment project that Dare County is going to pay for itself to try and address this rapid erosion issue that came up. It was originally going to be in 2027. Ball's moving to get it in 2026. Obviously, that is not going to help these homeowners who've lost their houses, who've lost their pools, who've lost their septic tanks. So, no, the houses weren't built in the ocean. So that's why when Tower Circle Drive disappeared, and there is a little bit of complicated regulatory issues that we can get into as well about that. Tower Circle Drive is actually a private road. That's not a public state North Carolina maintained road. That's a private road. So there's that angle as well as the fact that the beach itself, well, the beach that's supposed to be in front of those houses that's on the screen right now, that's Cape Hatteras National Seashore. Then you got to throw in the whole Coastal Area Management Act of North Carolina has on how close you can build to vegetated, the closest vegetative dune line. That's why you can't move these houses. You can't, there's nowhere behind them to move them. There's just so much has happened here in Buxton itself that, really, again, 10 years ago, not a problem. Now, beach nourishment project number 3 on the way in next year, but that may be too late for even more houses because we got another winter and early spring to get through before that stand starts being pumped on the beach.
Brett, I got to tell you, no matter how much I look at anybody's video from the Outer Banks, I'm just constantly in awe of this situation that is playing out here. But in particular, your drone video here showing me some new angles and heights that I haven't seen before. For instance, those pools being, embattled by the waves and all the debris that is now scattered along the beaches there. Tell us a little bit, for anybody who hasn't spoken or heard you speak before on our show, what do you and Chris do? Why are you flying these drones, and maybe where have I seen this footage before, and why does it feel familiar to me?
Well, James, I'm a meteorologist, so I'm going out for my network. I work as a reporter for Weather Nation, so I'm out there, definitely during storms that are of significance. And we felt like, the Outer Banks had been battered. Things were already kind of compromised out there, and we knew a nor'easter was coming in, so it was, time to get out and go see what happened. So, we knew that the big story was we already had some homes that had been taken out. And honestly, we were concerned that more were going to be taken out. And I've got a question before I get into where you've seen this video. Sam, can you enlighten me on something if you happen to know? Because the homeowners of these residences that are on the beach itself, is it true that those homeowners are kind of stuck until, like in terms of insurance, until the home is completely destroyed as a total loss and taken out? Because we were told through multiple third-party sources that, the sad thing is that they get condemned because most of them have been rental properties, so you can inhabit the home, but the homeowner or the owner of the property can't claim insurance until the home is completely destroyed. Basically, they know it's going to be a total loss, so they can't do anything about it. It's not like you can go in and repair it. Is that true?
That's 100% correct. You just mentioned about the septic tanks. Once those septic systems are compromised, the home is condemned by Dare County, by the Dare County Health Inspector. That's who covers septic tanks. Once that happens, it can't be occupied because you don't have a flushing toilet. And there's other structural reasons that the code enforcement, et cetera, can condemn it. But so those houses cannot be occupied. And the homeowner themselves has no option. Insurance is not going to pay for you to demolish it. We've been fortunate enough to have a few homeowners who've been able to get their houses moved. Rodante's a good example of that. Buxton is less because, again, they have to be so far back from where the first vegetative piece of land is. There's just so many different angles there. There have been federal buyout programs that came and went in the early 90s and that, instantly were popular and instantly got shut down. And, some of the things that go on with these houses too is the fact people don't realize these aren't $1 million, $2 million homes. In many cases, these are people who built houses on the Outer Banks in the 1970s and 1980s who were fortunate enough to get a very economical piece of land. They built a nice little salt box, couple of bedrooms, a bathroom or two, and a kitchen and a living room. These aren't 12, 20, 20 bedroom houses that are falling in. These are 4 or 5 bedroom houses at most. And those aren't rich folks. These are folks that when there was a Ford F-150 truck plant in Norfolk, Virginia, they drove every day from Currituck. They drove every day from Williamsburg, wherever, and worked the line 8 hours, 12 hours a day and made enough money to buy themselves a little house. But some of these are, again, got a mortgage on them. Some of them don't, the ones that have collapsed. So no, yes, that is correct. If the insurance company's not paying for them to tear them down, the only avenue they have is get a contractor lined up that's going to go out there and clean up the mess that these houses are going to make when they fall. And the insurance will reimburse them for that, or they'll cover the mortgage or whatever else. But yeah, that is 100% correct.
Wow. Well, that's what we heard, and that's kind of what I expected, because it's not like you can repair it, all the new regulations, and then with the septic system, and you can't move them. So it's it's just interesting to hear the stories, because that's a unique story. You don't hear things like that, and this is one of the few areas where you hear that type of thing. We usually hear about insurance horror stories from people that have been impacted by hurricanes, but not people that are just getting impacted by the surf on a day-to-day basis or a storm-to-storm basis, as they say. But James, back to your other question, the drone video. We were out. I operate LSM, so I was able to basically distribute our video across to the masses. We've got contracts with the Weather Channel, with AccuWeather, with really you name it. So you saw it, ABC, NBC, CBS, all the big box media companies had access to it and purchased the video. They license our content from us. So that's kind of our primary source of revenue from things like this, that continues to get us out to report and to also, give information to the EMs, to the Weather Service, work with the Sheriff's Department. And then, our new initiative that we have now, we started HazCams 2 years ago, which is basically a static tower camera network, or PTZ tower camera network, where we have 4K UHD cameras on towers, and we have weather equipment. Well, in these cases where we have these major storms, we also have our mobile units that are 4K static cameras that will transmit. So we're transmitting live video, and we can literally, as you see there, that's an example of one. It's basically inside of a Pelican case. We have a processor, and we have an internet signal that goes out, and those are waterproof. So we've had those in storm surge zones. We've had those last year. Hurricane Milton covered one up about 10 feet of water, and the water goes down, and it was perfectly fine. As you can see, we were pointed at some of the houses there off Tower Circle. That was a live shot. That's a screenshot of a live shot from the storm. And those run off battery packs, and they actually have 4, 5, 6 days of battery, just depending on the conditions in the local environment there. So that's something that we provide, and those are also public and able to be viewed publicly while we're streaming, so that we can give the public as well as officials and media a bird's eye view in a place that it may not be safe for us to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key, right? It's capturing maybe previously unknown data and disseminating it back out to curious public, but also the decision makers.
Right.
I have a question, but before I forget, we're about 20 minutes into the episode, so I do want to just pause for just a second, Brett. As a businessman yourself, I have to read our ad read here for our sponsor. I hope you don't mind me doing a quick little pivot here, because if I don't do it now, we'll get too far into the episode, and I will unknowingly forget to do it, and that is definitely not what I want to do. But I want to thank Queen. We need to talk about Queensboro. When you're building your brand, every detail matters, including what you wear. Queensboro Shirt Company makes it easy with easy ordering, free logo setup, and no hidden fees. For more than 40 years, they've helped people and businesses share who they are with the world with their quality embroidery and print. It's all about honest pricing, small business friendly, and genuine care. Plus, their no returns necessary guarantee means that you can try them absolutely risk-free. Go to queensboro.com to see for yourself why they're the top-rated custom logo apparel company on the internet. And you can scan the QR code on your screen right now or click the link in the description to check out the new Carolina Weather Group merch store powered by Wilmington-based Queensboro. You can support the show and support our local Carolina economy when you check out the Carolina Weather Group merch store for hats, shirts, and more. Right on cue. Frank has his hat on. I've got my hat here. And what are we pointing at, Sam? Oh, just the gear on the screen.
I was just pointing. Yeah.
Do you guys hear really loud like wind playing, or is that just me?
No,
That must be just you.
No, that's just you.
That's just me. All right. I wonder if it's your drone video. Yeah, okay. It's the
That's
Facebook
probably the
tab. I
video.
had been playing the drone video, and it auto advanced to the next one.
James, I can talk a little bit more about our cameras.
Yes, please.
We've been working on these cameras since what, 2020, Brett?
Yes.
2020.
Yes.
You talk about some of the video that we've only lost 2 cameras that I'm aware of, and that was we lost one in Hurricane Laura in Holly Beach, Louisiana, and it was strapped 12, 14 foot up a power pole. And yeah, we never found that camera.
Yeah, the entire pole was gone. We got on top of my truck to put that up the pole, and then we never found the box, the pole, and then most of the RVs that were there were also never found. So,
I mean, in that case, it sounds like it wasn't a camera failure; it was a pole failure.
Correct. Yeah. That's one we'd love to have the video from.
Yeah. Okay. So here's something, Brett, you posted on your Facebook page that kind of shows these cameras in action. And a view like this is publicly accessible for, say, even homeowners who maybe evacuate during a storm and want to keep an eye on their neighborhood.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. One of our partners, and I'm glad you brought this up. So you see there, WeatherWise, which is a radar software that's freely available from your browser, your Android, or your iOS. Our cameras are embedded within that. So you can see the live radar and physically click on your camera location, and you can pull up multiple cameras, and it'll tell you, information at the camera site there in terms of how many people are viewing. And if we have weather data sensors up at that camera site, it'll also give you temp, dew point, wind speed, direction, all that stuff too. So yeah, that's a really cool product. It's we're very happy to be partnered with WeatherWise with that project, so that people can look at that and correlate it to the live radar imagery as well.
And you guys are also working with James Spann on his new Alabama Weather Network, aren't you?
I am responsible for installing every tower camera for the Alabama Weather Network. So we're building out a system where we have a tower camera in every county in Alabama.
Wow.
And then we are going to 100 cameras by next year. So we're hardcore in deep with not only weather cameras, but every one of those sites also has a weather sensor. So we're going to have a huge, hopefully a micro net in, several weather sensors in every county that we can tap into. And we have the capabilities of using those in any way, shape, form, or fashion that we want. And we've got some AI built into those systems. We've got the capabilities to put those in all of your broadcast softwares. Like, I don't know if you guys use Baron or WSI. We've got all of it integrated into all of those forms as well. So it's been a huge project, massive undertaking. And as you can imagine, James is extremely excited about where we're going with this, because visuals are everything when it comes to, the public and people that are watching now. It seems like getting the proper reaction, you have to see the action to get the reaction, instead of just talking about what the radar shows. I mean, you guys have seen the changes in the social science over the last few years, per se.
Yeah, I think it gives our audience a really good insight for things they have seen or might be seeing the next time they watch insert name of weather network here, and they're seeing images of the severe weather playing out across the country. A little insight into how that's being gathered behind the scenes. I'm curious to know if you guys have any tidbits that you can share with the audience about your experience out there on the Outer Banks, any conversations you had, any local officials you ran into, just a little piece of life, if you will, from your, I think you said 48 hours embattled and bunkered out there on the Outer Banks.
Well, we were fortunate, right? We planned on being out there, so we made sure that we had, shelter, food, and all those things. So we were going to be out there for 3 days, we knew, at least. We did not know that we were going to see some of the dunes get broken, especially up near Oregon Inlet, and shut the highway down for 36 plus hours, so that we couldn't really travel very far. We had an area of, 10, 12 miles where we could travel. And that was the south end of the island, really, from Avon down to Buxton and, down toward the ferry. But the ferry's closed, and then 12 North is closed. So, we expected the potential for that. So we were prepared. So we didn't really have any kind of freak out moments or anything else. And what was also funny to watch was, the residents out there, and I'm sure, Sam, you're well aware of this. They're just like, oh, it's a typical Tuesday. It's not, the weather's not that bad. We're just going to enjoy being stuck. We can't go to work, which it was Columbus Day. That was the other great thing. On Monday, you had Columbus Day. So a lot of people were off work. They didn't have to go in. So that was the one thing that I guess, all right. I mean,
it's not a holiday in North Carolina. So everybody went to school.
It's never a holiday. Oh, no kidding. I did not know that. So
it might have been a holiday in Massachusetts. Holiday. It's a holiday in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, it's a holiday. It's not a state holiday in North Carolina. It's not a recognized state holiday. So, yeah. We get 2 days.
That's a different topic for a different show.
Right, exactly. It's not that reason. We get the state of North Carolina gets off on Friday of Thanksgiving because instead. So there's that. But anyway, no, this time of year, it is fortunate when things like this do happen, but it's not. And I'll tell you, one of the big reasons is this is a very popular time of year for people to come here, but it's a very popular time for those of us who live here to enjoy what we have. One of those being fall fishing season. The drum bite has been just off the chain. It has been insane when you can get there and when you're not dealing, not having to throw 12-ounce lead sinkers out the whole bottom. It's been great. But the other angle on that is those of us who live on the other side of the bridge who want to go down there, and we're like, do we go? Do we not go? This was one of those weeks you don't go. My son being one of those, he kept calling me every day. What do you think? I said, dude, I really don't think it's a good idea. And he agreed, and he didn't go. But then there's the people who, like a good friend of mine who was calling me yesterday as I'm here in Massachusetts and I'm feeding him information. He drives a delivery truck for Cisco, and he was on the wrong side of the canal zone. And he's calling me, hey, what do you think? I said, you better get that route done before high tide. And sure enough, it got shut down. And I called him, and he's trying to get a hotel, and he got a hotel booked in Avon. And then all of a sudden, a couple hours later, we got it done. Because normally DOT doesn't like to work after dark if they can't get it open within a certain amount of time. Plus, they don't want to put people out there with the potential of overwash after dark, meaning the public. But this time it happened. But yeah, this was another one. And James, right now, if you're watching the video stream, we haven't talked about Ocracoke at all. And Ocracoke, once again, that's another spot, the north end of Ocracoke Island, just beyond the Hatteras Inlet Ferry Terminal. It's on the north end. That camera that you're seeing from DOT is actually posted just what's known as the pony pens, the old Ocracoke ponies that used to roam wild and have been penned up for many years by the National Park Service, reside there. And
I don't
they
think
had
I knew that they had penned the wild free horses.
on Ocracoke, not in Corolla, but in Ocracoke.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
Ocracoke's a whole different
okay.
thing. Yes.
I was about to retitle this whole show.
No, no. Don't even go. We're not going there because that would be another show.
Tune in next week when we talk about Columbus Day and penning of horses.
Yeah, exactly. So you see the full court press DOT had on today, this afternoon, and that was around 2:30, 2:45 this afternoon. 5 o'clock, first ferry ran. They got to reopen. I want to get Frank in on this conversation, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Brett. I didn't mean to do that. So, but I do want to get Frank in on here because Frank, maybe you can explain what happened with this particular nor'easter that actually turned into twin nor'easters and split, and we got in the lead. We got into a big lull of wind. Monday night, I think it was, or maybe Sunday night out here. All of a sudden, it just died, and it was the weirdest thing watching the models showing this big slash of nothing, and then all of a sudden we get a twin. So, Frank, maybe you can explain a little bit more about what happened with this system and why we saw focuses and instances of sound side flooding instead of just ocean side flooding. So, because it was a really weird week.
Yeah, it was because there were really two weather systems that got involved here. The first one, well, three altogether. We had a front move in and become stationary. Then we had a disturbance that was over the nation's midsection move in and spawn the initial coastal low. And that got your winds going pretty good out of the north to northeast for a while. But then a second disturbance that was up in Canada at first, moved into the Great Lakes, and that's what spawned the second storm further north. That one kind of took over for a while and caused the strong onshore winds to kind of shift northward, and then your winds sort of turned offshore at the Outer Banks, and that's why you ended up with a sound side flooding instead, because your winds went one offshore direction for a while. Which was good because it was blowing the tide out on the ocean side, so that helped for a while, I guess. But unfortunately, a lot of damage was already done at that point.
Yeah, and it was. And in fact, we had another overwash incident today up at the canal zone. I mean, it's just been a constant battle. Like we said, since August, really, with the northeast flow, and we were getting the shifting areas along Hatteras and Ocracoke. Ocracoke's a pretty solid. It's always the north end, but we're seeing that where one storm it's Buxton, one storm it's the area between Hatteras Village, right as you come into Hatteras Village. One storm it's now back on Pea Island. Then we threw in the sound side flooding that we got in Hatteras Village. We got it in Ocracoke today, and we got it. Even you guys, you had the video as you were headed out trying to get out of Dodge, earlier in Rodanthe, of driving down where you had sound side flooding there and a little bit of ocean side because Rodanthe was still getting the offshore blow. But that was yesterday afternoon when things went. They're out there trying to dump it. And something I'll note: the sand that you see that's those dump trucks are bringing in actually comes from up by the Bonner Bridge. The DOT has a kind of a storage area, if you will, of sand that collects up there. And they kind of build that up throughout the year as sand blows on the Highway 12, and they'll scrape it off and take it back up there. So they have sand that they can use to dump to rebuild a berm to at least protect the edge of the road and keep it from collapsing. So, there's a lot that goes into this. This isn't just like trying to push the snow off like you do in the mountains, you do in Charlotte, you do elsewhere when it snows. This is a whole different animal.
But I get your point.
Yeah, I know. That's true. It doesn't snow there anymore. But,
we got this canal zone photo up that shows the progress. I want to ask, does anyone, here's the same camera from earlier to show you the before, but has anyone figured out who this guy is?
This guy? No, it would have been
and
great.
I presume it's a guy, but it doesn't mean it has to be a guy.
No, I'm pretty sure it's a guy.
Look, let me go ahead and give an unpopular opinion here. And I almost posted this on Twitter, and I thought better of it.
So you're going to do it now?
And the
You're gonna do it
guy,
here?
I would be in the yes, I would be the guy in the truck. That to me would be awesome because I know how bad the storm is, and I obviously I couldn't do this because of my position, but I would actually have loved to have been in the truck to experience that because I think I know well enough after my Hurricane Michael experience, I could handle that.
Well, Chris, why don't
But
you tell the world, what did I text you? Because this photo was in the Dropbox that Chris sent, and we saw it all went on viral on Twitter. But when I saw it in the Dropbox, Chris, what did I say?
Oh, you said, do I need to know something? Is this you guys in the truck or something to that effect? And I'm like, no, James, this time it wasn't us. We're good this time, I promise.
You guys,
But I wanted to ask you something.
that
Something,
wasn't
Frank.
y'all in the SUV that got spun around by the 6-foot rogue that came through that was headed north that someone had video after it had gotten spun out right where that camera is.
No, we saw that video though.
Yeah. So that wasn't the
Yeah,
only.
I was going to ask you, Frank.
That's going to be fried here in a couple of weeks.
What
about the?
Go ahead, Brett.
Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
I was going to ask Frank, with that double barrel load going up the East Coast like that, you know, the northern low becoming the primary low pressure. Do you think that's what contributed to 11 inches of rain down around Georgetown with that, you know, the primary low being stuck under that upper trough?
It could be. It could be that's was the cause of it. And you know that's an interesting post-mortem to do on this storm is how the different models were handling that. I think that the Euro, especially the AI Euro AI model, was showing that sort of thing happening, and as a result, causing a lot of rain. So yeah, I think that's reasonable to think that's what happened.
On the other hand, let's talk about the power truck, the bucket truck that was stuck in the surf zone in a couple of feet of sand down there at Rodanthe, coming off Highway 12. So I mean, you know, it wasn't just the innocent bystanders that were getting stuck. We had people out there trying to do some work that were getting stuck too. So I mean, you know, we didn't do it. I'm just saying, I'm kind of that adrenaline junkie, knowing that zone. But I mean, holy cow, Sam, those dunes that they push up and that they build there in Canal Zone, man, some of those things were like 15 plus feet high and reduced to nothing.
Yeah. And reduced to nothing in 1 or 2 high tide cycles. That's what's scary. And guys, we haven't even talked about Kitty Hawk, Kill Double Hills, Nag's Head. Kitty Hawk, if you remember a few years ago, and I have quite a bit of video back in my social media. If you search back, I don't know, man, over the last 10 years, when Kitty Hawk was the hot spot. Well, this storm did a number on those dunes in the Milepost 4 area. There is the Black Pelican restaurant. It's actually the former Kitty Hawk life-saving station. It's where the Wright brothers sent the telegram to their father to say success. And on December 17th, 1903. That area right there, the dunes have really built back up. And that's thanks to 2 beach nourishment projects and a really great program here, Better Beaches OBX, of dune grass planting that goes on throughout the off-season. Christmas trees planted out there. I've been out there, done it myself with the Christmas tree hauling. And anyway, that area, we've got some pretty sizable escarpments that got developed. And that's escarpment meaning dunes that got chewed up with this storm. So we got some more areas to worry about, but this right here, the Canal Zone, if you're looking at right now, and the DOT camera that we get those shots from is that pole that's kind of standing up at the end there. That area, like you said, Brett, yeah, that was 10 to 15 foot high dunes pre-Aaron. I've got video where I climbed up on top of that just to I was getting some of this perspective stuff to have in case this happened, of saying, here's where we are, here's where we were, and here's what's happened. And the thing about it is the ocean is breaking right on the other side of that dune. It's washing up right on the other side of that berm. We shouldn't call them dunes because they're berms. They're just basically sand, you know, the DOT's having to push up every time they go by there or every time this happens. So yeah, it's crazy how much sand has been moved over the last 2 months now, but really over the last 10 years, over the last 20 years here alone on the Outer Banks. But yeah, that normally you can't see the ocean when you're driving there on a normal day. or like I said a couple of months ago. Now it's just regular. It might as well not even be there essentially. But and see how high that is. All that stuff's gone now. That sand had to go somewhere. It's just gone down the beach. But thankfully we've got sand that we can put back there. But yeah, this is going to be a struggle as long as we go through the winter, because we know we're not done with this by any means. We've had some pretty lucky winters the last couple of years out here of not having a consistent run of nor'easters. Seems like now we're back into that pattern where we're getting them all the time again. So
quite the pattern.
Well,
go ahead, Brett.
Let's hope that the system in about 10 days doesn't come out of the Caribbean and try to come up the East Coast, because that would be a huge issue. There's no time to get anything back built there, because when we came in from the north, was it Friday, Chris? We ended up going in on Friday afternoon. Those berms we couldn't see the ocean anywhere on our way in. Those berms were back up to 12-ish or better feet high. So seeing that, they were able to just get it up, to a level of 5-6 feet just to be able to get us through there. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is. Jay's got a great question. Is there any side of the Outer Banks that's alternate routes outside of Highway 12? When we talk about Highway 12, and it's something to note about that, we're normally focused on Hatteras Island and Ocracoke Island. That is it. There is nothing else. The ferries are the only other way to get there. To Ocracoke, you can take the mainland ferry, either from Swan Quarter in Hyde County or from Carteret County and Cedar Island down towards Morehead City. But you get on Ocracoke, you can't go north as we showed you until today because you've got erosion going on. Highway 12 is it for Hatteras and Ocracoke. When we talk about Kill Hills and Nags Head and Corolla and Duck and Southern Shores and Manio, there are two ways. You got 158 and you got 64 that come in there. So yeah, but Jay, no, there is nothing south of Whalebone Junction, the end of US 64, which runs from one end of the state to the other, and the end of US 158, which basically runs from one end of the state to the other. They merge there at what's called Whalebone Junction. Highway 12 picks everybody up and takes them south. That's it. That's the road.
Incredible stuff. Brett and Chris, if we haven't said this already, thanks for sharing your visuals with us and our audience. We appreciate you. Just like we talked about, seeing is believing, and there's a lot to be believed and a lot to be seen. You guys are welcome to stick around. Before we wrap this week, we're going to go over and check in with Frank Strait, because as Brett just mentioned, Frank, there's some things in the tropics worth watching.
Yeah, there sure are. Kind of behind me, you see a satellite view. Let's go to my screen share, and you can see the loop in action right there to look at the things that we have of concern out there. And one of them is, well, it used to be a tropical storm, but it's not anymore. It's Lorenzo, which developed out in the middle of the Atlantic a couple of days ago. And now it's, it's not a tropical cyclone anymore. It kind of fell apart today and is way out there. If you look just to the left of James, that's it right there. What's left of it. There's no circulation with that anymore. And that's heading off to the northeast and should completely fall apart in the coming days. Now, aside from that, we don't really have anything going on out in the tropics right now. There are a couple of tropical waves to watch. There's one over the Lesser Antilles right now. There's another one not too far east of there. There's one more, though, that's southwest of Cabo Verde. And I've been telling my coworker, Melissa, I've been teasing her about this, that she's out there, floating around doing this lazy swirl there, and I'm watching her. And I think that this is going to at least be a part of a development that we see in the Caribbean Sea sometime either late next week or maybe next weekend. Models are in pretty good agreement that we're going to see a tropical cyclone develop. It's the question is exactly where it might go after that, and we don't really know that at this point. Now, I can show you the scariest model, and I guess I will, which is the European model. This starts at the current time. I'll just zip this on forward and take this to the part that's interesting as we get to about Sunday or Monday when that tropical wave finally gets to the Caribbean. and the convection starts to increase with it. And then by the time we get to the end of next week, whoops, we're looking at the 18Z right now. It's a bit back to the 12Z. There we go. And middle or western end of the Caribbean Sea. Either the wave itself develops or it gets involved in one of those Central American gyre features, and that spawns a tropical cyclone of some sort. But anyway, that's probably our next thing to watch for a possible development. It's on the way out in the long range, and different models are handling this differently. The only thing we have any kind of agreement on is that there's probably going to be a development out there in 8 to 10 days. European model, yeah, it's the scariest one. It shows thing going into with Yucatan Peninsula and hooking back around and going toward Florida, and then potentially up the East Coast from there as we approach Halloween. That's just a model forecast. That's not a model output. It's not my forecast. It's not anybody else's forecast except maybe Billy Bob's Carolina Weather Authority on Facebook that likes to post this kind of junk.
We
with
promised
these
we weren't going to mention Billy Bob.
Well, if Billy Bob would stop doing stupid stuff on the internet, then we'd stop giving him a hard time. But anyway, again, this is just a computer model output, and it's probably wrong, just like just about every computer model. When you look beyond 10 days out, it's probably wrong, even beyond 7 or 8 days out. But it is a reasonable possibility that we'll have a tropical cyclone, maybe even a hurricane in the Western Caribbean in 8 to 10 days, and there's some chance it would come toward us here in the Carolinas, or maybe end up going out toward Bermuda, like most of them have done this year. And I think the GFS and Canadian model are showing that instead. So just something to keep in mind, that hurricane season isn't done yet, and y'all need to be prepared. And for the Outer Banks, that's just kind of your best effort at this point, I guess. But the rest of us, well, in South Carolina, we had some issues too, and we'll try and talk about that in a few minutes before we close. But it wasn't anywhere near as bad as what we saw at the Outer Banks in North Carolina and points further north.
Yeah, we had a mention of Georgetown earlier in the show. So tell us a little bit about that, Frank.
Well, we did see some pretty substantial beach erosion and some flooding. For example, we had a high tide, and this page just keeps wanting to refresh itself and take forever to get. But we did have an 8.46 foot high tide in Charleston. There it is, and a couple of others going up over 8 feet. Are going to around 8 feet. So 8.46 is preliminarily a tie for 13th on record at this gauge. So that's fairly high. It's not as high as some we've seen, like the December 23 coastal storm. It was another 1.5 feet higher than that, roughly. But still, 8.46 feet causes a lot of problems around Charleston. A lot of roads flood. And if you have a storm right offshore that's causing a lot of wave action, then that's going to enhance the potential for beach erosion, and we had a lot of that. Like, for example, there's Shay Gibson posting a picture from I think that's Sullivan's. No, that's Folly Beach. So that's what Folly Beach looked like. Some of the dunes got eaten up there.
Was there a mention in there of topsoil? Because I feel like we had a comment in our show from somebody watching on YouTube earlier.
Yeah, I don't have anything from topsoil because I was focusing on South
I thought there was
Carolina,
a mention of it in the post language from Shay.
Yeah.
Mary, watching on YouTube on the Carolina Weather Group, wrote North topsoil's in the same boat. This was referring to our conversation earlier about OPX.
Right. Now, Scotty did post some stuff from city of North Myrtle Beach. These are some pictures from North Myrtle. And again, the dunes got eaten up pretty badly there, and some damage to one of the beach accesses there, it looks like. There's a person back here to give you some perspective here of how much erosion occurred on the dunes there at North Myrtle Beach. So these dunes are in some cases 8, 10, maybe 12 feet high, and they got eroded away pretty good there. There's one more shot from Shay's post, and again, that's from North Myrtle. And let's see, it was Joey Savine posted this one, and I can't remember where this
for
is
audio
from.
listeners. These dunes, they are
close
like
it up.
90
Yeah, it's Sullivan's, so that's
half,
Charleston area.
6, 7, 8 feet tall, where the sand has just been yanked away.
Right, and this looks like the south end of Sullivan's here. I think I've been there and remember that sign showing the how bad the currents can be there, and they fine you like $1,000 if you go in the water there, because it almost guarantees you'll have to be rescued. So they don't like people going in the water there, and you get in a lot of trouble if you do. In that particular part of Sullivan's, there's just strong currents in that area. But anyway, these photos just go to show how things have been really chewed up along the South Carolina coast. And I don't think we had any home damage except from some of the flooding, but we did experience a lot of beach erosion. And so if we were to get a storm affecting our coast at the end of the month, probably this season's last hurrah, it would probably be bad news for us, because I don't think we're going to get our beaches straightened up here in time for that next storm, if it does come our way.
Yeah, I was thinking a little bit about the drought and how a little rain would be nice, but not that much rain, not in that form, not on Halloween. That would not be good. Thank you for showing us kind of the regional impacts there, Frank. I think those are important to get in. As we kind of wrap things up here on this week's edition of the Carolina Weather Group, I wanted to shift from one side of the Carolinas to the other real briefly, if I could, and just say that the fall leaves are gorgeous in western North Carolina. We went up to the Blue Ridge Parkway. This is a little bit of video we shot over by the Linville Gorge and rack video. There we go. And the U.S. Park Police are still out if you need assistance for any reason while you're out there. The visitor centers are closed because of the government shutdown, but this was last weekend. The colors were just coming into their prime. They're even more gorgeous now. If you're going on a weekend, pack your patience and go into these small towns and spend some money and help them recover from Hurricane Helene. They missed out on all of this tourism last year, but again, please be kind and respectful to nature and these communities. They want you to come in and they want you to enjoy their beauty and their towns, but please be kind, because when you're hangry and they tell you it's going to be 2 hours until dinner, that's the struggle.
Welcome to our world in the summer.
Exactly.
That's going to do it for this week's edition of the Carolina Weather Group. Speak now, forever hold your peace. Okay, one time
I'm good.
You good? Okay, one time I stopped the show, and then Frank was like, I had tabs. I had all these tabs.
I've got one tab. I do have one tab, James. I do want to have one
Okay.
tab. All
right,
let me throw this one. And this is a story that if you get a chance to go to islandfreepress.org, and there's that wonderful photo.
Did Joy figure out who was driving the truck? Because that's really what I want to know.
No, I wish we could tell you Joy had gotten who's driving the truck. We want to know. We're trying to find out. I can tell you this. If it had a plate on the front, we'd know at least where they were from, because it would not be from North Carolina. It would be Virginia. But anyway, no, she has written a very detailed story explaining why we still have this situation on P Island. And this is the road not taken, why a 17-mile bridge wasn't built from Oregon Inlet to Rodanthe. And I'll just show you one graphic here, and it's not going to probably show up very well on the restream, but if you go to the story, you can click on and see that plans were in place
see if I can zoom that in.
to actually build a replacement of the Bonner Bridge. I might be able to do that. But yeah, build a replacement of the Bonner Bridge that went all the way to Rodanthe, and build it in segments. Well, obviously that didn't happen. And there's a lot of reasons why. And it's not maybe the reasons people think. So I think it would really be worth your time. Go to islandfreepress.org and find this story. It's still on the front page. We'll really explain the situation out here. And Joy's coverage throughout this, you to the minute coverage from directly on the island. She lives in Avon. We're all, one thing about it, we all team up down here when we get storms. Joy really does a great job, especially covering the issues there. And it's got the firsthand local knowledge. Don Bowers is down there photographing and videoing for her, and has got stuff up to the second of what's happening down there. So that's really worth your time if you get a chance to do that.
Let's see if we can get them on, Sam, and we can talk to them some more about it.
Yes.
Some
Future show.
Great reporting. Yeah, absolutely. That's going to do it for this week's edition of the Carolina Weather Group. Thanks to our guests, Chris and Brett. I'm James, alongside Frank and Sam, who, by the way, Sam is normally out on the Outer Banks. I know we labeled him as being in Massachusetts. So if you're watching for the first time and you're like, why does this guy in Massachusetts know so much about the Outer Banks? Because he is like our Outer Banks chief bureau correspondent, but he's traveling.
I storm chased. I literally followed the nor'easter up the coast. So yes, this was a
That's
first.
that's why. We will see you back here next week for another edition of the Carolina Weather Group, talking about weather, science, technology, and more from the Carolinas and beyond. Find us on Facebook or wherever you get your audio podcast. Until then, be well. Good night.